everybody. Good morning, good afternoon to all of you. And thank you so much for joining us in this celebration of Berta Cáceres and the launch of the International Tribunal on the Rights of Nature policy on defenders of Mother Nature and territories. Just a few words, and then I'll pass it on to Nati, the Secretary General of the Tribunal. We wanted to launch officially this policy in this day that marked the 10th anniversary of the siembra of our compañera de lucha, Berta Cáceres, an indigenous leader, woman leader from Honduras, that was killed for her commitment to protect their territory and the Rio Gualcarque from the construction of Aguas Barca Dam. This is a very important opportunity for us to show our commitment in support and defense of defenders. That is a very strong connection with the protection and defense of the rights of nature, as I will explain in my presentation later on. But today, we are joining the voices of Berta's brothers and sisters that are actually celebrating now in Tegucigalpa, and unfortunately could not be with us, but they sent us a very, very beautiful video that actually tells us a bit more about the 10 years of mobilization in their memory. One last word, after 10 years, finally, some of the names and of those people that mandated the assassination of Berta and those that are responsible for her killing have been revealed. We know now that this killing did not happen by chance. There was a clear ploy orchestrated by some financial interests connected by specific families in Honduras, the Honduran government at that time, and the connivance of international financial institutions and companies that were engaged in the construction of Aguas Barca. So I think it's an opportunity for us to celebrate, but also to seek justice and to support the calls for justice and truth for Berta's, but also for some of her brothers and sisters that have been harassed and threatened. Last point, a week ago was also the anniversary of the killing of an indigenous leader from Ecuador, Eduardo Mendua, one of the members of the CONAIE, that was killed for leading the resistance against oil extraction in the Amazon. And I think it's very important to show also our solidarity with CONAIE and with the communities that are currently threatened and harassed for their commitment to protect Mother Nature in Ecuador and elsewhere in the world. I will pass it on to you, Nati, and then we can continue our conversation. Thank you so much.
Muchísimas gracias, Francesco. Y muchas gracias a todos quienes nos acompañan hoy. Empiezo por disculparme que estoy con un dolor de garganta muy fuerte, así que mi voz está extraña hoy. Pero quiero decirles que
clear today, but I would like to say that my heart is full of love to have you all here in a special day. March 3 is going to be 10 years of murder of Berta Cáceres, as Francesco mentioned. This is something that divides the history from the defense of the earth, related with the defense of the earth in our land. It's a pleasure for us from the International Rights of Nature Tribunal to launch this policy today. So to also have panelists today so dear to us, to our cause. And I'm going to be, as Francesco mentioned, I'll start sharing with you an amazing video sent to us to share something about Berta Cáceres. Please confirm if you can listen.
Fuego y los grandes liquidámbares de humo y sal, el brote de luz en el nombre de Berta, de Juan y la sagrada sangre. Hora del encuentro, las manos y las lágrimas apretadas es también. La ruta de la pólvora arrancó los cuerpos de su gracia, apartó el abrazo de las hijas, mutiló la calma y ha hecho arder la fuerza última de la rabia. Nuestras han sido sus palabras que agitaron las mantas. Los ríos no se venden.
pelea y se defiende.
La impunidad no es eterna. Solo el pueblo
Salva al pueblo.
El crimen apagó sus ojos, pero no las voces de su canto. Nos han dejado el testamento de las cosas simples. El poema de Juan vuela aquí, en este día colorido, y nos dice que el amor no es un misterio, sino un regalo. Berta no deja de sacudirnos. Apurémonos, compa, ya no hay tiempo. No se olviden que venimos de un pueblo digno, el pueblo lenca. Heredamos de sus pasos la urgencia y el dolor, y cada tanto resuenan las campanas fúnebres del recuerdo ingrato. Ellos germinan en la madre oscura que los abraza. Berta y Juan caminan en la memoria, sonriendo, despacio, picándonos las costillas y burlándose de nuestros lamentos vanos, cosiendo los hilos rotos, señalando a sus asesinos para que no les dejemos ir. ¿Quiénes faltan? ¿Quiénes faltan? Hay que agarrar su paso y prometerles que aquí seguimos y que es la esperanza, la estrella que en la madrugada de nuestros sueños siempre brilla. Muchas gracias.
Bueno, y con eso espero que hayan disfrutado este video y
With that
quisiéramos
video, I hope you
brevemente
had enjoyed this video, and we would like to thank Copin, daughter of Berta Cáceres, to be here with us today, to be part of this homage as this part of this tribunal, and very conscious that when we protect the territory, we protect also their defenders. And these murders, they hurt us all. And the homage to this beautiful woman that gave her life to defend her territory. So today we would love to hear these amazing voices. So let's start with Patricia Walinga, a dear friend, Patricia, that recently I had the opportunity to be in her territory. She's the defender from Quichua, Sarayaku people in Ecuador, and she's very well known for her work, for her continuous works in the defense of the territories and ancestral territories and the defenders of the land. Also, her fight against the exploitation of oil in their territory. She's also been threatening in her territory. She's also been threatened in the country. She's a key element to this emblematic prosecution of a case of Sarayaku. And this is not an honor, only an honor, but we admire you so much, and we would love to hear from you a little bit. What's your experience as a defender that in this day that we offered this homage to Berta Cáceres? We know one of the most dangerous activities in the Amazon is to defend the nature, especially because we face against the big interest, extractivism interest. Lots of defenders have been murdered, and then the majority of the cases, these crimes, they are left in impunity. Here in Ecuador, for instance, we haven't had we haven't seen justice in specific cases. They lived in impunity. So in this special day, I want to honor the life of Berta, this amazing woman, because it's been 10 years since she was murdered. As a leader, she was a defender of the water, of earth, of dignity. From many communities, and many, especially from her community. I was present when she received a Gulman Prize, and I was there with her, and we will never imagine that her life was going to be taken away from us. So she left the scar to all of the defenders, for the ones who are defending the rights of the indigenous peoples and the rights of nature. Her life remembers that the defense of human rights, it cannot be separated from the rights of nature, and that we cannot speak about human rights if we don't have justice climate justice, right? We cannot speak about that. It's important to mention that the indigenous people, we have a deep knowledge about nature. That's our university. For us, everything is a living thing, and that's why it's reasonable why Berta was defending the Alcarte River. They showed us the significance, the meaning of rivers, because it's a living being, because we have species there that are not only fishes or anacondas like the Amazon, because they have that sacred memory, that life that flows and that generates abundance, and that we cannot kill that right. We cannot murder that right from that river. So many times we see that happening. This is a voice that comes from the territories. It's a fight where life prevails in a context where our planet, our Mother Earth, we are in the middle of a huge crisis. The indigenous people, we have this in our roots, and when we lose this, we stop being indigenous, and when we start negotiating our territories, we cannot say anymore that we are indigenous, because our essence is the respect and the love to our territory. And it's that love and that allows us that the territory keeps thriving for the next generations, for the future generations. So that's the thought, that's the thinking behind a truly defender of the nature. When you defend principles, as Berta Cáceres did, the value and the convictions of doing what feels right comes from deep within us, because life to us is sacred in all its forms, and her defense, it's not only of indigenous people, but also the defense needs to involve every single being, every single human being in this planet. So the Berta murder tried to left a terrible precedent that wanted to generate chaos and fear, and they wanted to silence the voices in all of and very in more than region in the world, in a model that is obsolete, that doesn't work, that allows wars where everybody's fighting against each other, with economy that doesn't work anymore, prevails against life. And that's the model that we are questioning right now, and that's um the model that we want to break. That paradigm doesn't work anymore. We need new paradigms. We need to keep life with dignity. Berta's murder, it was infuriated us. All of the defenders were furious against this, and they were trying to silence our voices, and it doesn't work, because her voice keeps firm. Her voice is inspiring new generations. It's still alive in every single community, in every single us, in every single river that has been protected, and in every single person that starts to look to the nature as a part of as a sister, as a brother. And it is not only a resource, it is part of our existence, a vital existence. Berta lives a legacy that makes us think, that makes us thought about, even though her life was ended in an early manner, we need to think that we need to be together. We need to stand together. We need more conscience. We need to have more conscience, because not, the governments are not going to change this way, this obsolete way to exploit our resources. It's going to be the defenders of the nature, the citizens, the common people, because this is not only an indigenous people's fight. This is a, a humankind fight against, for life, for our existence, for the continuity of our dear planet Earth. That's the fight of our defenders. It's not a selfish fight. It's a global fight. It's not only Sbero's fight. It's a global fight. It's not only Sarayako's fight. This is a global fight. If in any moment do you think, oh, poor people that they're fighting over there, and you're not involved in that moment, you are accomplice of the ones that are hurting us. And this is something that we need to keep going on. Viva Berta, she lives in our hearts, she lives in our inspirations, and she lives forever and ever and in all future generations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Patricia. Thank you so much for that beautiful homage to Berta, and thank you for being an inspiration to me and everybody that we try to defend the nature every single time you inspire us. And thank you so much for being this defender and the rights of your nature, of your people. Now we're gonna have Javier. He's an senior assess consultant for and Global Witness Territory, where he leads the work of incidents, and he's been working of peace brigades to work with the defense of the territory. Thank you so much, Javier, to being with us today. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Thank you so much, Natalie, for the introduction and your presentation, and thank you so much to Francesco as well and Patricia for their words. um, that makes so much sense in this state and this anniversary from Global Witness. We also take part of the celebration of life of Berta Cáceres, and we honor also all of her legacy and her work and the message of this fight that she was um, from Global Witness. As you know, we are an organization that we've been 13 years documenting attacks to the defenders of the nature on their territories. And Berta's murder, we were so sad about, and as the whole world was. And it was also an inspiration to keep going our work, to keep documenting these attacks that happen, as Patricia mentioned, not only in Honduras, not only in Latin America, but in the world. So from Global Witness, we have documented these attacks as Berta was assassinated, where thousands of people murdered around the world. From 2012 until 2024, we've documented 900 murders and 96 the people that have disappeared from their territories. In these cases, we only have 155 cases that are specific for Honduras. And from those 94 cases have happened after the Berta's murder. So this shows how the situation, the risk, and the danger that communities and the people that defend their territories keeps happening. And then this is getting this makes that Honduras one of the most dangerous to be a defender these days. If we see this as a per capita level, is the country with the most cases in the world in relationship with their population. Um, it is a country that we see that they gather all the conditions and the dynamics that we've been documenting and showing the risk that the defenders of their territories faced every single day. So this includes also a model, an economic model that destroys uh, the environment and the communities and that attacks the people, and also a political model that is stigmatized and that is racist and criminalize their population and their communities. And that's also how we see in Honduras case, we also have the phenomenon not only of murders that we've been documenting for so long, but we also see that threats and the attacks are also linked to a criminalization process to the defenders of the nature. This is a phenomenon that we're looking at in every single in a global level, and every single time they use the laws to attack the communities with the end to silence their voices so they cannot try to stop they can stop their resistance, this extractivist projects in their countries, their resistance of their in their territories. I would also like to mention that since Berta was murdered, we have documented 1,200 cases in Latin America. So this regional phenomenon that happens in the region right now and also in the world defenders of the nature. In these years, we have seen some sort of recognitions of the defenders' rights. Berta she shined a light in that sense to take more in phase of the role that they have of the defenders of the nature. This has taken us to believe in this 10 years we we have, for instance, the Escazú Agreement that is dedicated with the environment, with the access of information, the climate justice, and that includes also a chapter specific for the defenders of the nature. It's very important that Honduras hasn't signed this treaty, this agreement, and it's very important. It's urgent that they sign this treaty, this agreement, this Escazú, so they can be in line with the standards and the requirements that we need to have in every single country to protect the defenders of our territories. We also have under the Aarhus Treaty, it's a relatory for the limited mandatory. We hope that we have more solid aspects about the defenders to protect the defenders, but I hope that in that sense, the legacy and the work of Berta has been an inspiration. We also have a network, a global network of organizations and communities that are committed to protect our environment, to protect the territories that is the main source of this amazing and this huge source that we need to be together in this fight and in this protection of life. So I believe that this gives us hope to keep fighting. We need more guarantees. We need more security. For example, Honduras has a model, a protection model that it's a failed protection model actually, because it doesn't answer the necessities. It doesn't comply with the necessities of our communities in risk. We have seen this in other countries in the region. So we need that Honduras guarantees, which they don't right now, the conditions, the security conditions of the communities, of the peoples in resistance. We are very worried about the new government that is coming. We know that this could be when governments change. We know that when that happens, more attacks come, and so we need better conditions for our defenders and better recognition and protection for our defenders. And also in terms of justice, we need to advance in terms of policies. We need to advance in terms of what happened with Berta's cases. Justice has advanced a little bit, but we need more. This is a global phenomenon. So we need justice right now for Berta, but also for other colleagues, other leaders that we have mentioned that we are working with. So it's a pleasure to be here with you in this important date for the region, for Honduras, and for the world, for the defense of the territory and our planet Earth. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Javier. It's very pleasure to listen, but it's also very sad to listen to those numbers, not only those data. These are not only numbers. There are stories, moms, daughters, that are people that are doing that are. This is unfortunately this is something that keeps happening, and as GORN, we are, as International Rights of Nature, we look to shine a light on the defenders and also to protect them. This is what we're looking for with our new policy, the policy that we're launching today. And that's the importance of thinking about the defense and the importance of the territory and these agreements that you mentioned, this Escazú agreement that you mentioned. We need to guarantee the life of our defenders. Thank you, Javier, for being here with us today. And we also have the pleasure to listen to Jorge and Noel. Jorge, he's a Mapuche leader from Mapuche Confederation. He represents the Consejo de Sabios from Tica, and I would like to thank them, UICA Consortium, for all their support, for having you here, Hugo and Jorge. And also, Jorge, you've been a a value piece when we were able to visit your territory and see all the disaster from Vaca Muerta, to listen all of the testimonies from Mapuches, and in your territory started the construction of this defensor policy that we're launching today. So thank you so much, Jorge. We're listening to you. Maybe you're muted, Jorge, if you can turn it on. Thank you so much, Patricia, Natalia, because we're here today to remember a woman that with such a great dimensions at Berta, and the opportunity to say hello to all of you, to everybody from the Tribunal and the Defensors of the Nature. You were here in the territory, as you mentioned, Natalia. For us, it was a very important visit to be able to show the impact that is generating this huge complex that is here in our territory right now. We think that today is very important. All this solidarity, all these alliances that we have established, we can because we're going through a very difficult moment. We're very worried about what's going on in our territories, and would like also to take the opportunity to say how from Red Tica, it's a consortium that we have built around the world from a number of communities that are worried about policies, especially where the region we have biodiversity and that we are under threat because of the interest of economic markets. So we are holding on to this ICA consortium, and also in a continental level, we are part of the ICA consortium, ICA network Latin America. So right now, our coordinator Luis Guillermo Izquierdo, with Jose Walingua and Carlos, they have an agenda of supporting for the defense of Savaca in Suriname. They on last Saturday they participated in an assembly with other communities, and we have a meeting today with Suriname. So we wish that they were successful with this mission, that and that they can prove also that our fights, they cannot be isolated from what's going on in the world, because in a global level we are organizing ourselves, and in a certain way, sorry, they're organizing this big threat against the indigenous peoples. So there's a government, an imperialist government, as the one is Trump representing, that is invading countries, that is kidnapping presidents, that kills other presidents, murders other presidents. So the law, the stronger you are, that's the law that rules the world these days, right? So this type of conduct has a limit, especially because he's behind our resources from from countries that are under this imperialism act. So we cannot say that we have that this is all of this has a limit, and there's the environmental destruction and the amount of so when the this is the only alternative, the tool that we have is to consolidate all of these partnerships and alliances that we have here in Argentina. We are very clear about this because of this maniac government that we have right now that promotes violence. So the international networks are more than necessary, more than ever. So this movement that comes from the north has come to our country and also in our province. Um, we have a huge reserve here in Vaca Muerta, that you had the opportunity to be here, and with a government that has a very that is very short-sighted about what's happening here in Neuquén in Argentina. So every single state has their constitution, and as a result of a very organized fight, we we managed to settle this. The So the Mapuche Confederation here in this we have a jurisdictional base, very important one, but for that jurisdictional aspect, we need a government, we need a state to that wants to respect the law. So that doesn't happen right now in our country because the law doesn't matter. The presence of a community with all their rights, it doesn't matter because what right now what urges what it's the hyper production, the hyper um, that it's going to allow these governments to guarantee their governments, their elections, and all of the instructions that are going to take. That's all that matters. That are going to take from nature to consolidate their power, to get rich, and leave behind a cemetery. So that's the scenario that we have right now in Argentina. We're fighting against that because we believe that the life is in danger, not only of Mapuche, for all of our confederation. One of our demands is the defense or two lakes that are fundamental for life and for every single region and city in Argentina. These lakes that I'm mentioning, their program, their decree has already been signed. There have give to YPF, the main petroleum consortium, oil consortium here in Argentina. It's irrational what they're doing with these two lakes. We are looking through every type of campaign we are organizing, and the Mapuche and Neuquina society are organizing. Stop this concession, stop this, because we are under threat. Our life is under threat because a huge population depends on the water of those lakes. Um, so, so you understand the rationality that we act here right now, the way that our governments are acting, and they understand our relationship with the nature. Yesterday, every single year, we have an opening of our uh, the governor. What he said the most is that we need to monetize our earth. We need to monetize the soil. So those years we need to guarantee the happiness and the well-being of our country. So that means a direct threat to our communities. That means that they're going to maximize the extractivism. Look for they're going to look for instruments in order uh, to put under threat our rivers, our water, our air, our communities. So that type of call that the government is doing to monetize the earth, understand that there's no other way to achieve well-being for our population. That's the threat, the death threat that we have under us right now. And that's what we need to work on. That's why we need to get organized, because this is not a government that is going to save us. It's only the capacity of the communities to mobilize, to build conscience, to understand that well-being that it could be for a small time, it's not going to guarantee our future. They're going to come, they're going to destroy our future. So from here, from our territory, please stay together, mobilize, uh, keep generating policies as the one that you have just launched, and we need to be solidarity with each other. We are not alone because we are promoting partnerships, collaborations uh, with every single social movement, and it's what keeps us firm today and together against the power of governments. So let's keep in touch, let's stay together, and hopefully we're going to meet again in our territory or anywhere in the world that requires our presence or the presence of our organization and the Mapuche people. So a huge hug for everybody, and thank you for this invitation. Thank you so much, Jorge. It's always a pleasure to listen to you. And of course, yeah, it's an honor to be colleagues in this fight to be able to visit your territory, and with this fight that the Pueblo Mapuche and the craziness that fracking is and the craziness that is happening in the world. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the ICA consortium. And thank you so much for being also an ally and a fighter, a defender, but a great friend, Jorge. It's a pleasure to have you here. So now we're going to listen to Francesco Martone. Francesco is going to present our policy, the policy of defenders of Mother Earth and the territories. He is the co-founder of the form of art for the commons. He was a member of the Italian Senate, and today he is going to present the policy on defenders, he's played an important role in his elaboration, and now his main reference. So we would like, how do we present this? How do we apply this policy, Francesco? So thank you so much. Thank you for your words. You're muted right now, Francesco. I'm sorry, I have issues with the technology. Thank you so much with everybody. I've prepared a PowerPoint, but I hate PowerPoints, but I have prepared a little bit one, and I try to make a brief summary of this policy. Before starting, I would like to mention, while writing this policy, I brought inspiration from my previous work with an organization, Forest Peoples Program, and also the work that we've done together with the initiative of Zero Tolerance, and various aspects of this policy, they come from that experience working with indigenous communities and defenders of the nature. So in the same policy, it was launched, let's say, in an occasion of a international tribunal that we did in Belém, and the People's Summit, to the that Javier mentioned, Michel, our ally in the UN. So we can start with the second slide, Mary, please. This policy brings from previous aspects. So the first one is policy. Could you, next slide, please? Is the one that speaks about the experience that the tribunal has in 2014 with the session that happened in Lima, and the occasion where we are denouncing human rights violations in Bagua, in Peru, in Belo Monte, and that tribunal was news because of the murder of Jose Antun Defensor, a defender Shuar from against mining, that he was murdered before being in front of this tribunal. So I believe the presentation. Okay, there you go. So in that tribunal, we ruled the first sentence, when in the one that we mentioned the importance to defend and to protect the defenders of our Mother Earth, and also the responsibility of corporations and states to secure, to have security for those defenders, for the ones who defend our nature. And then we have more experiences, direct and indirect experiences with our judges, where judges were threatened under threat during a mission in the territory in Bolivia to investigate the impacts of an infrastructure that was built there. And then in Mexico and Yucatan, we went there also. We were witness of very numerous of threats against the communities in this project called Tren Maya. So that is why, based on those experiences also, but also on a research that we have, come to a conclusion that after 10 years of work, that we cannot separate the recognition of the nature's rights and the human rights. There are two things that are connected in terms of co-violations, right? We have decided and determined that the violations of rights of nature, and this takes to violations of the rights of the people, the rights of the communities, and also the rights of the nature. So we believe and we think that it's necessary to have this policy, not only in how to protect and how to utilize also these processes and how the tribunal can commit in terms of to protect the defenders, our defenders. Sorry. Next slide, please. So there's two types of on how we can make an interpretation of that relationship. So a positive action for because of the communities and organizations, they act as guardians, as defenders of the nature. But in the majority of cases, they're the same cases that are being representing they represent the nature against the tribunal. So in this situation, we have a couple of challenges in terms of how the tribunal can commit to support the defenders of the nature in their territories, but how to guarantee that any organization and defender, individual, expert, judge that participates in these initiatives, that's why that the results of this process is also we are under threat sometimes, that we can that we are under risk also, right? Next slide, please. Okay. And that is why we have decided before anything to take a look on the political basis and of the tribunal. We decided to speak about the violation of the human rights of our defenders as part of a competence of this tribunal. That now we can judge, we can rule also. We can rule against the violation of the human rights of our defenders. Next, please. So we have two types of responsibility. The first one, as I mentioned before, to guarantee that no matter who that reaches the tribunal, that participates in this tribunal, he doesn't threaten as, or his life is under threat because he reaches the tribunal, or even worse, that his situation or her situation are getting worse because of that. And also the second one, to have the capacity, the operative capacity to support other defenders, right? Of course, in this case, the tribunal, we don't have enough capacity, and that is why we're building relationships, we're building collaborations, we're building alliances, also with Global Witness, for instance, because we want to build a community. We want to build common experiences with how the experience of the tribunal can support, and the experience from organizations that defend and that support defenders, they can support our work as well. So it's mutual, right? So the whole environment, the whole ecosystem of the defenders of the tribunal has three pillars: the convention, the policy about defenders, and the toolkit, right? The toolkit that it's every single step that we need to have in order to organize our tribunal. And from the very beginning, we need to guarantee that we need to evaluate we need to make an evaluation of risk in order to have all the measures and all the resources for the process, and all and right now we are elaborating as well also the procedure where the tribunal, we are also going to have the policy about defenders and the territories. So the policy has three pillars, right? The first one that recognize the main role of the defenders in their communities. The second one, we reaffirm the commitment to support and to protect the defenders. And the third one, sorry, we have methodologies in order to prevent risks and threats for the ones who participate in the activities of the tribunal. And in this one, I would like to thank Max Mendieta, who helped us to take a look in the policy. I take the opportunity to mention that this is a document it's already approved, but probably in the future we're going to have we need maybe to change some aspects of the policy with all the partners that we are having conversations. Next, please. So the first aspect is to recognize the right to defend their mother nature and their territories. We also have a policy of zero tolerance against any threat or attack, and um, we call for the governments and companies to apply their zero tolerance against any type of attack or threat or repression against communities or organizations and defenders in individual level or collective level. It's very important aspect of collective dimension because the people, the indigenous people, they have the right of their communities. So also we recognize the human rights, individual human rights, but also the freedom of speech, the freedom of association. But also we want to recognize their collective rights as the integrity of their territory, and also we believe that the strategy needs to be holistic. It has to take in consideration various elements. For instance, the Berta case, it's very emblematic because Berta, she she herself was puts herself in front of a lot of challenges. For instance, the patriarchy, the colonialism, also the challenge of for being a defender of the territory. So we always need to elaborate measures. We always need to think about the contingents, the vulnerabilities, and also the main actors, the main characters, and the dynamics that takes us to those vulnerabilities. As I mentioned, also the rights of security and integrity of the ones who participate in policy. We have a couple of steps that we are going to apply, that we are going to put up in the conversation, and we are going to elaborate once again with experts, with specialists, with also during the tribunal. We're going to investigate, we're going to research what are the, is for instance, anybody wants to be anonymous, and all the ways that we can protect and to build the process, a secure process. And also we have all the operative dispositions, as I've mentioned, the evaluation of a risk, how to guarantee the security, how to follow up how to follow up, because it's very important for us how the tribunal, for instance, can amplify initiatives, can amplify activities and support or defense of their communities after that we take in consideration a sentence, right? And then and also if there's something related with the protection of the defenders, right? And in the end, the policy we have thought also it could be a manual and disposition for the communities and the organizations that they can be part of the tribunal, they participate in our activities. So in the end of the policy, we have a list of organizations that work in support of the offenders. We have the contacts also. We have a list of their contacts and for international institutions, and also we have links and manuals with education related to protection and harm reduction for communities. So it's a policy. It's not quite normal policy. We have our position as a tribunal. We have also the operative aspects, and also we have the tools and lists of tools that we want to share with allies. And the last one, you can find the policy in English and Spanish. You can access this QR code here from the digital library from the section of policy from the tribunal. We are here for any question, for any doubt. You can reach us by email. I'm happy to answer all of your questions and all of your doubts, and we can keep the conversation going on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Francesco. My voice is getting worse. I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Francesco, for presenting our policy of defenders. And what we want from the tribunal is to this is not only a document, this is a living document that we can apply this, that we can use this in order to support the defense of our territory. So thank you so much, Francesco, for your presentation. And now we're going to listen to Adam Loom, sorry. He's from Zero Tolerance. He is a focal point from the initiative Zero Tolerance. He is a coalition, a world coalition led by the representatives of the communities that work in collective to elaborate cases against the murders, against defenders of the human rights that are related with the. Thank you so much for being with us, Adam. Thank you so much.
Who was murdered just a week ago on the 16th of February, Jose Albino Cañas Ramirez, who was a member of the Cabildo, the kind of governing committee of the Resguardo Caño Loma Prieta in Colombia. And yeah, I mean, this is just another tragic reminder of what Natalia and Javier have been talking about today. These killings continue to happen. And just a reminder of the urgency and the importance of the work that we're all doing. And yeah, from the ZTI, we send our condolences and solidarity to the Resguardo at this moment. And I think in the chat, yeah, there's a link paste if people want to read the comunicado and the press release on this. So just to add to what Natalia said about the Zero Tolerance Initiative, the ZTI is essentially a solidarity network. There are 130 members at the moment based all around the world, in the Americas, but also Asia, Africa, and Europe. The network does a few different things, as well as pushing companies to develop and implement zero tolerance policies. It also, one of the focuses of the coalition is also to share knowledge on collective protection. And so I've been asked today to speak briefly about collective protection, what it is, why it matters, and why it deserves greater support from donors and from civil society organizations. So what do we mean by collective protection? Really simply, collective protection refers to any set of actions that increase the security of a group. And it's a very broad definition because no two communities face the same threats, no two communities have the same dynamics, and no two communities organize themselves in the same way. So collective protection measures can look very different in different contexts. One of the most important parts in terms of collective protection is it's not something that external actors can simply design for the communities. It's not something an NGO can come in and say, you guys need to do this and that. Really, the communities themselves are the experts on this. And many indigenous peoples and communities have developed really sophisticated protection strategies, protection systems, for years, which are rooted in their ancestral knowledge, which are rooted in weaving the social fabric and the collective decision making. These systems of collective protection can include things like indigenous guards, collective early warning systems, rapid response networks, FPIC protocols, safe houses, territorial monitoring, a range of actions that could strengthen the community cohesion, the tejido social, even things like humanitarian zones and other mechanisms. So they sometimes don't resemble what we may understand traditionally as kind of security or protection. They aren't always based on hard measures like CCTV or bulletproof vests, but these collective protection measures are very effective in preventing, really stressing the issue of prevention, which comes out really strongly in the tribunal's policy. They're really effective in preventing and also reducing threats that communities face so they can continue to defend their lands and their territories. So why is collective protection so important? We understand this because the threats faced by land and environmental human rights defenders, the criminalization, the displacement, and the other attacks, they're experienced collectively. and therefore it's kind of logical that the protection should also take a collective approach. But despite some of the progress that's been made, and there has been quite a lot of progress, the majority of protection frameworks tend to continue to focus on the individual defender. The emergency grants that are accessible are still more likely to focus on the urgent relocation of an individual rather than strengthening of collective community mechanisms. National and international protection programs tend to prioritize individual measures. And that analysis is also reflected in the tribunal's policy. I mean, the individual focus has a value and is very important, but I think what we're trying to say is that it's essentially incomplete, because if communities are attacked collectively, and then by protecting only certain individuals, then you really overlook the reality of what the risk is and the true impact of these attacks. So we really try and ensure that the donors, states, civil society recognize the importance and the legitimacy of these collective protection mechanisms and support these protection systems, which the communities already know work best for them. So just to finish, a few years ago, the members of the Zero Tolerance Initiative proposed creating a platform with a database to share materials on collective protection, because a lot is out there, a lot's been produced. And there was a microsite which was created for this purpose. And I think one of our colleagues will paste that in the chat. And I invite you to explore the site. And if you're interested in learning more about collective protection, there's guides on FPIC protocols, there's tools, there's examples, there's training materials. So yeah, we'll leave that in the chat. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Adam. And muchísimas gracias, Adam, por esos recursos y por todo ese apoyo.
Resources and all the support that you are giving us and that you're giving also to the defenders. Thank you so much for sharing these important resources and for allowing us to be the space to continue talking about this. Now we're inviting Hugo Javini. He's a defender from Suriname. He is a co-recipient for the award Goldman award. He has played a very important role in 2017, where the Samaka people. I'm sorry, but I cannot listen right now to Natalia. She's cutting the connection, maybe. It also gives us a worldwide precedent about the tribal communities. Thank you so much, Hugo, for being here. And thank you so much for your support, Hugo.
We
Hi,
listen.
Natalia. Can you hear me? Hola, okay.
Yes, we
Thank
can
you
hear.
for giving me the space. Yes, I just want to speak on behalf of the defenders. Since we are here to tribute to Berta, our colleague, and for me, we as defender honor Berta not just as a martyr, but as a living seed. Her struggle against the Agua Zarca dam was never just about the river. It was about the fundamental right of nature to exist free from commodification. When we defend the land, we are not saving nature. We are nature defending itself, because we are part of the nature. The International Tribunal for the Rights of Nature recognized that those who stand for Mother Earth are currently the most persecuted people on the planet. Our life is in threat. When we are walking, we always have to look back to see if we are not follow, if we are not if we can speak out freely and do our human rights work. The extraction-based economy views the earth as a resource and its defenders as obstacles. They see us as we protest against economic development, and that's why they treat us as enemy. We see a global pattern of legal harassment, surveillance, and physical threats used to silence our ancestral wisdom and community sovereignty. The tribunal's new policy marks paradigm shift in international law. It moves beyond traditional human rights to acknowledge ecological rights, protecting the defenders is inseparable from protecting the ecosystem. Shifting the burden of proof onto corporation and states projects don't harm life. Moving beyond finds towards the actual healing of the soil, water, and spirit of the community. We call for transition system to a life-based one. The law must align with the laws of the earth rather than the laws of the market. To uphold the universal declaration of the rights of Mother Earth, ensuring that rivers, forests, and mountains have standing in a court of law. This was my short presentation to tribute to Berta, our colleague, Berta. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you so much for your presentation and for this.
Thank you so much, Hugo, for this tribute, and for all your work in Suriname. Right now, we're going to start answering a couple of questions that we have in the chat before we can keep going with Francesco. We can end this webinar. Especially, we have one, Jorge, the colleagues, how we can support to Mapuche Confederation to fight against extractivism. Jorge, please, if you can answer that question. And yeah, I make an invitation for those who are part of this webinar so they can ask whatever question that you want to. Thank you, Natalia. Well, basically, here in Vaca Muerta right now, it's not different from what's happening in other territories where we have a total abuse of power, especially from an alliance, all right? From an alliance that is supported by well, they support each other because there's no only one company, multinational, that impose their power, destroys the territory, breaks with all the institutionality. They don't respect the rights of nature. But there's a state, there's the government that legitimize that. They open the door to the local government. That's what happened here in Neuquén. It's the government that is delivering openly because the owner constitutionally of the soil of the earth is the provincial state, right? So YPF, it's a company of a government. It's a public company of a government. So they're coordinated to get in our territories without control, without fiscalization. And third of all, and the third aspect that completes this complicity in order to in order so we can order so we suffer these abuses, it's the police. It's the police. It's an institution that they act every single time that we have an action from our communities. They allow them to work, and there's a whole apparatus that is sustained by the laws of a government of Argentina, from where which with them we create a system of prevention and repression coordinated with the local government and the Argentinian government, right? So all of this complicity, institutional complicity, is that the one that allows all of the abuses that we are suffering right now. We are having a huge it's very difficult for us to prevent for them to start it's very difficult because we are under threat all the time, and also because we are suffering a lot of pressure to the families of the communities because they want to bribe them, because when they can't fight because they're afraid, because they are under threat, etc. uh, they start to use this other tool, the multinationals that they use is to buy people, is to bribe the members of our communities, right? So when the state that supposedly has to be there intervening is the one that they are generating a passive attitude, because we were repressed 5 months ago. We were violently received in front of a government where we had more than 40 detainees because we were talking about our communities, because that way they forbids the community to build jurisdictional strength. They were not only expelling us from that space, they also criminalizing from there, because in order from the justice to act to comply with the norms that are established, because they have a constitutional obligation, they criminalize the authorities, and in a certain way we are right now being criminalized by the government. So it's fundamental that this is public, and that's why the work of the tribunal is very important, because it's the tool to make this public, to make this because all of the abuses, they are being anonymous because they don't have a public impact. And also I was forgetting about a fourth actor. They only have these three powers: multinationals, local governments, and justice. There's a fourth power that is acting for all of this hidden what's going on here in our communities, that are the media companies, the main media companies in country. They are forbidden to speak about the Mapuche conflict. They have a lot of investments about fracking, and they have specialists. They have editorial partners that speak about fracking, and that's what's happening here in our society, in Neuquén society. Fracking, it's an activity that generates crime. The only tool that we have are the platforms, not only the social media, but also the networks that we are building with other organizations. So what I think that I believe it's this guerrilla war, some sort of, and to build better partnerships and collaborations as the one that we are building right now, because um, we we cannot be anonymous. We cannot leave this behind curtains. We need to put out there our voices and to let them know what's going on here in our community. And we need to go to international tribunals also, even though they're not in the best manners these days, because this policy that's been applied here in the government, in the Neuquén government, Thank you so much, Jorge. And I believe that you have mentioned something very important, that it's alliances and networks. That's what we're especially looking forward as the tribunal, how to we can strengthen each other and how we can support each other, especially to communities that are represented here right now, as you mentioned also, that they don't feel by themselves, that they feel protected, that they feel that we can shine a light on these conflicts. That the worst thing that can happen is that these things goes anonymous. I believe that there's no more questions, so we would like to understand and to know any of you, um, if you have doubts, or if you want to open your mic to say a last word, something that you haven't mentioned before, or something that you want to add. Please let me know. Otherwise, we're going with Francesco so we can close this meeting. It's always a pleasure. Sorry, there's a couple of things that I would like to mention before. I would like to thank Mew, that is speaking about the summit in Turkey, the People's Summit in Turkey. These spaces are very important spaces. As GARN, as Tribunal, we would love to have to be part of these spaces and also support these spaces of collaboration, even though last year we went to Berlin with all the efforts and all the expectations, but solutions come from civil society. So I would bet for both spaces. Thank you for the. Yeah, I'm just reading a couple of chats right now. Thank you, Zala, for your comment. We are also, yeah, we are launching alerts against those, and what we want to is to shine a light to these violations. This is part of a system that is giving word, bringing word to the nature, and unfortunately. And if is there any other comment, please do not doubt to raise your hand or open your mic. Thank you. Thank you so much to everybody. Jorge, Patricia, Javier, Adam, and Hugo. I believe that the only way to close this meeting is to open the door. This is not the end of our fights. So I have a problem. I have an issue with closing initiatives, right? Because in a sense, in a way, we're going to keep working, we're going to keep protecting, we're going to keep fighting. So the best way to end, it's going to read Berta's speech when she accepted the Goldman Prize in 2015, because I believe the best way to as Hugo mentioned, to keep her voice alive. We're not speaking about the death of Berta. We spoke about the seed, and we want to close this way. In our cosmovisions, we are members of the corn and the rivers. For the defense of the rivers, to give life for the well-being of humanity. To walk along our people, this compromise, I'm really sorry, I cannot listen to Francesco right now.
Autodestrucción basada en la depredación capitalista, racista y patriarcal. El río Huacar que nos ha llamado, así como los demás que están seriamente amenazados en todo el mundo, debemos acudir. La madre tierra militarizada, cercada, envenenada, donde se violan sistemáticamente derechos elementales, nos exige actuar. Construyamos entonces sociedades capaces de coexistir de manera justa, digna y por la vida. Juntémonos y sigamos con esperanza, defendiendo y cuidando la sangre de la tierra y de sus espíritus. Dedico este premio a todas las rebeldías, a mi madre, al pueblo lenca, al Río Blanco, al Copín, a las y los mártires por la defensa de los bienes de la naturaleza. Berta vive, vive, la lucha sigue, sigue. Muchas gracias con todos.
Bien.
Muchísimas gracias, un placer.
Gracias a ustedes, compañeros. Hasta la próxima.
Muchas gracias.
Bye, Adam.
Seguimos.
Bye, Hugo.
Thank
Gracias,
you.
Javier. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.